I'm thinking about beauty again. I guess I'll post this as a follow-up to Gary's video, although it's also partly prompted by Nellie Diddle's video, which also talks about kind of walking through the world looking for beauty in all the wrong places. She doesn't say that, that's my interpretation. Yeah, because I've made a couple of videos recently about beauty, particularly picking up on this quote that beauty is the promise of function. And where it does tend to ground out, and it is a bit of a shame, it is one of the limitations of it that I'm aware of, is that it seems to suggest that we all have this really stupid evolutionary natural selection version of beauty in which we all like exactly the same landscapes and exactly the same bodies, and we're all, I don't know, just have this really kind of prosaic understanding of beauty. And in one of my last videos I was kind of talking about the education of beauty, or beauty as an acquired taste, about how you can acquire different kinds of taste. But I'm still not entirely happy with that. So I'm just trying to think my way into different aspects of beauty that doesn't rely on a kind of base superstructure model, you know what I mean? You come into this world pre-programmed to like the top of chocolate boxes and blonde women in lingerie, and then you learn the more interesting stuff later as a kind of optional accessory, you know what I mean? Because I don't know, I mean maybe that is true, but it's just not one I feel entirely comfortable with. You know, in the same way that you acquire tastes, you know, you come into this world liking certain things like sugars, and a bit later on you start to like avocado, and a bit later on from that you start like garlic bread, and before you know it you're eating sushi and all this kind of weird stuff. So, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's enough, maybe there is a logic there. And certainly, to the extent that there's a perceived spectrum there of something like sophistication or maturity. You know, we assume someone who's 40 who still likes sugary food is a bit childish in their tastes, I think. And we assume that people who like complex foods with strange tastes, we assume that there is a sophisticated taste. I don't know, maybe that's true. And the converse is certainly true in terms of my understanding of people, not just in terms of food, but in terms of other understandings of beauty. I always get a bit disappointed, for example, when some aging Hollywood actor that I quite admire, you know, gets married the 11th time for exactly the same identikit blonde 22-year-old woman. You know, Rod Stewart, he's not a Hollywood actor, but you know what I mean. Or when Patrick Stewart, the chap from Star Trek, you know, I think he, you know, left his wife of very many years and traded her in for a newer model, didn't he? So I always feel a little bit disappointed by it when I see that happening, because as I say, it seems to, I don't know, it just seems to suggest an immaturity or a lack of sophistication that these people, and I guess I'm not immune to that myself. So those people, which including us, have always got that kind of childhood, unsophisticated, immature longing for chocolate boxes and blonde women in lingerie. I don't know, maybe not. But certainly some of the complexities of more interesting forms of beauty I think are worth looking for, and more sophisticated tastes, I guess. I used to share a flat in Newcastle years ago with a lad who was, I don't know, he got obsessed with coffee for some reason, this lad. And every week or every couple of weeks he would try this new blend of coffee. He tried hundreds and hundreds whilst I was sharing a flat with him. And the level of conversation you could have with him about these finer nuances, I could just tell that he liked coffee a lot more than I did, and he was getting more from it than I was. You know what I mean? His palate had much more finely graded distinctions than my crude Nescafe palate did. There was a level of, I guess, beauty, kind of beautiful taste was available to him in much more variegated tones and shapes and colours and feels and textures than I could have access to. You know, I was looking at the cartoon and he was looking at this three-dimensional photograph. It's those kind of analogies in place. And I think you do get that with people as well. I remember quite a long time ago I used to drink at this pub quite a bit in Lancashire, where I used to live for many years. And this woman used to drink in this pub. I wasn't very old myself, you know, I was a young man. And she was seriously weird looking, this woman. She had a birth defect, basically, which meant that half of her face was slightly lower on one side. Not ill-formed, you know, it wasn't distorted in a way, but it was distinctly lower. You know, like one eye was like half an inch lower than the other, and her mouth was slightly curved in the middle, and it would go off to one side. It was a very strange face. If you looked at her from one side, she was fine. Looked at her from the other side, she was fine. But looked head on, she looked like something of Picasso. You know, it was weird. But once you got over that, and you did have to get over it. You know, you had to get over the shock. But once you got over it, it started to become really interesting, actually, and unusual. And you'd kind of want to spend your time with that face a bit. You know, you'd want to. Yeah, I don't know. You just want to. You didn't get bored of it, really. I suppose in quite the same way. You didn't get bored of it. Yeah, I haven't got much more to say on this, have I? Really? I suppose the only thing is this board thing. I know this that if you show babies, not children so much, but babies, pictures of things which are traditionally beautiful, and including things like their mother's faces, actually, but not only those things, but things that are, you know, things that are symmetrical or things that are harmonious, you know, things that have the signifies a beauty about them. They will look longer at those things. They also look longer at a whole set of other things, you know, things which are unusual and things that are, I don't know. But anyway, different things. But if you look at something which is considered beautiful, which would be considered beautiful to an adult eye, they will look slightly longer at it. Baby will. But after a few months, and certainly after a few years, they'll get bored of it. They don't find it interesting anymore. And more unusual things hold their attention for longer. And if you've got kids, you'll probably know that you have to keep entertaining them, and the entertainment becomes more complex as they get older. You've got to give them more complicated games to play and more complicated stories to tell. And maybe there's something about that with you know, adult and mature beauty. You know, notwithstanding Patrick Stewart and Rod Stewart's predilections for young blondes. Yeah, I think as you get older, it would be nice to drink different kinds of coffee and see the complexity and the tastes, or to play more careful games and more complex games with your appreciation of beauty, or yeah, just find the beauty of interest. Really, sustained interest is beautiful. You know, sustained interest is beautiful. Maybe anything becomes beautiful if you look at it long enough. Andy Warhol said that.